Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Larry Jacobs. This is PreK-12 Education Talk Radio. It's Monday, January 9th, 2023, and thanks so much for being with us today. We got a show with my good friends over at AASA. Okay, we've done shows like this before. This is with their Lighthouse districts, and these are school systems they selected that are really making a move to transform education. And today we've got Caroline Johns, who's the superintendent of Northgate School District over in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, home of the Steelers. Sorry about that, Caroline. And also we got Mike Nagler, okay, in Mineola, Long Island, close enough to the Giants to say sorry about that, because even though they're going to the playoffs, they're not going anywhere, Mike. I'm awfully sorry about that. And then we have Kim. Kim is from Texas, and Kim Alexander is the Chief Executive Officer of Collegiate Edu-nation, and I want to get really into and find out what she does over there. Collegiate Edu-nation, okay, and I'm going to give you all the information about it. That is located in Boone, Texas. They've been designated as a Lighthouse demonstration system. Okay, and this is really cool. They work a lot in rural education. So we're going to have a wonderful conversation with urban districts, suburban districts in Mineola, and rural education with my three wonderful guests today from AASA. We're going to archive the show at ace-ed.org, all right, which is where everything we do about equity happens to exist. All right, go over there, look at our magazine, Equity and Access, PreK-12. You'll love it. Click on the cover. We're the only ones that focus on this for our editorial, all about equity and access. We've got all our podcasts over there, teacher-retention.com, seltoday.org, and a ton of interesting articles. We just published an article today from a Texas-based educator about social studies and technology and how that affects equity. So please go over and check it all out at ace-ed.org. We work hard all about equity, and we want you guys to be involved with us. Let me bring on my three guests, and as always, we are ladies first here. Okay, Caroline, good morning. Sorry about the Steelers.
Good morning. Thank you for recognizing our loss. We do love our Steelers.
I know you do. Are you waving a yellow tail now? I just want to make sure that we're okay.
We keep one permanently hung up here, yes.
Oh, good. Great. And by the way, DeMar Hamlin is from Pittsburgh, and he's doing good. So it's actually a good. It's a bad week and a good week for Pittsburgh. He's doing okay. That kid, yeah, it's really cool. Kim, are you there? Kim?
Yes, sir.
How you doing, Kim? I'm Larry. It's nice to have you here. You're CEO of Collegiate Edu-nation, right?
Yes, sir, Larry. Good to be here this morning.
It's a pleasure to have you here, and I want to really find out about what you guys do. I've been on your website over the last 3 days when Jimmy over at the AASA told me you were going to be one of the guests, and I find what you do absolutely fascinating. Okay, so hang tight. Let me introduce the one and only Mike Nagler. Hi, Mike. How you doing?
Good morning.
Sorry about the Giants yesterday. I'm from Philadelphia, so I'm going to gloat. What can I do?
Why are you sorry? They're in the playoffs.
I know, but they're not going anywhere. I don't want to burst your bubble. Okay,
That's why we play the games, Larry. That's why we play the games.
Well said. All right. Well, we'll leave you with your sense of optimism today, okay? Because I know you got a great school district in Mineola. You guys really do. Okay, it's good stuff over there. Congratulations to all three of you. AASA is important to us. We love working with them and highlighting great districts and great companies that work with them, okay? And I want to start this one off, if I may, okay, with Kim. Kim, tell us about Collegiate Edu-nation, which, as I said, is fascinating me. Go ahead. Tell us about it.
Sure, Larry. Happy to be here and happy to talk about it. Collegiate Edu-nation is a network of high-performing rural schools. And it stemmed out of work. I was a longtime superintendent in Roscoe Collegiate ISD in Roscoe, Texas. And we developed a model for school-wide early college for all students. And then later it became Early College/STEM Academy, which all became what's known today as PTech, Pathways in Technology, Early College High School. And what we really do is work with small and rural school districts. 700 of the 1,200 school districts in Texas are classified as small or rural. And the more rural a school is, the more difficult they have of aligning with higher ed and workforce partners. Texas has record high school graduation rates, but very dismal post-secondary completion. Estimated loss in lifetime earnings for low completion of post-secondary credentials, $111 billion. So that's why the legislature in Texas is so interested in creating tri-agency alignment of K-12 higher ed and workforce.
And it's very funny. It's odd. Just my earlier show this morning was with a company called UWorld, which is based in Texas. Okay, and the whole conversation was about how AP and university is sometimes denied to under-resourced schools, all right, because they are just rural, okay, and they just don't have the resources to make it happen. And I'll say what I said then. Okay, I'll use the old United Negro College Fund. Remember this slogan: "A mind is a terrible thing to waste." We've got all these kids in rural districts, okay, and we lose those kids. Let's think of the brain power we're losing. Okay, so what you guys do is just wonderful. Is it a nonprofit, Kim? Or is it
yes, sir.
How's it work?
Yes, sir. We're a 501c3 nonprofit, and we have a philanthropic component, and the chancellor of the Texas A&M system, John Sharp, is our honorary chair of our initiative. And then also we work with the Texas Education Agency, and they have some grants for startup funds for these schools interested in higher student outcomes.
And where are you from? Your accent is a deep Texas accent. Where are you from?
I'm from West Texas, it's not Boone, Texas, it's Roscoe, Texas, a little agricultural community out in West Texas. Texas is kind of a big state, so.
Really? I didn't know that. Really? Wow. Yeah, it's amazing, and it's just great to have you here. It really is, Kim. Caroline, can you top this? It's always Pennsylvania, Texas with all this. Caroline, tell us about Northgate School District.
So Northgate.
Brag. Brag.
So we are a small urban district. We actually border right on the north side of the city of Pittsburgh. And our focus area has been on multi-tiered systems of supports with research-based interventions. So specifically, we've been looking at two areas in depth, and that is early literacy and behavioral health for our students in K through 12. And so I'll talk first about the early literacy. Before the pandemic, because you know how everything's before pandemic or after pandemic. So prior to the pandemic, we were working on developing a model literacy program that is based on the science of reading research. And then the pandemic hit, and we had to redo everything and had a lot on our plates, but we had some discussions with our teachers, and we made the decision that we were going to continue to do this work despite everything else that was going on because it was too important to have it wait. We really believe that our students, all of them, have to be reading by the time they enter third grade. So we've done a lot of work to effectively change everything that goes on in our K through 2 classrooms. Then the second area is an area we're really excited about, and this is in the area of behavioral health. We implemented something called the CHILL Project, and we're in our second year of implementation of that. And what it is, it's a partnership with Allegheny Health Network, which is a large healthcare provider in our region. And what they do is we actually have AHN staff who are full-time in our buildings. Each building has a behavior educator, and then each building also has 1 to 2 full-time licensed counselors in the building. And what's really interesting about this program is they blend into our faculty. If you asked our kids, they would have no idea that these people work for AHN. They just think they're other Northgate faculty. They're part of our community. And the way I look at this programming, the way I like to talk about it is for many years, we've taught kids about physical health. We always teach them, you need to eat healthy, you need to exercise, you need to get sleep. And we don't wait till they're sick to talk about this. But we haven't done that as much with behavioral health. And I think this is a different approach in that we're teaching our kids strategies to support good behavioral health, such as mindfulness, coping skills, interpersonal skills. And we don't wait until they're in crisis to do this. So those are two of our big focus areas. We have a lot of systems in place where we're able to monitor our students, recognize when they're starting to struggle, get supports to them quickly, and then make sure those supports are working for them.
Describe the district demographically. What kind of district is it?
So we're a little bit over 1,000 students. We have 3 buildings, 2 elementary buildings that are K through 6. One of the buildings does have pre-K classrooms. Then we have 1 secondary building that serves 7 through 12. And in terms of our student population, about 60% of our students come from an economically disadvantaged background.
Wow. Okay. So you got, and talk to me, and thank you. Okay, what you're doing is wonderful. Multi-tiered support services, all these wonderful things you're doing. And you mentioned this before, pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. Okay. Has it changed?
Well, this was work that we were starting before the pandemic, and the pandemic just created a disruption. And I think what was significant for us is that it was a time where schools had to say, okay, we're working on some good things. Do we put those on hold until we get through this crisis? And, you know, because there was a lot that we were asking our teachers to do, our administrators. Obviously, we all lived through the pandemic. We know what the emotional toll was. But I think it really redefined our commitment to kids in that we said, nope, this work is too important, and our kids are here right now, and they can't wait a couple of years for us to get through this.
That is excellent. Again, no wonder they named you Lighthouse District. I mean, it's terrific. You're going to be a beacon of light for a lot of people. Okay, doing this, and I'm full in favor of multi-tiered support services. I think that's so important, and obviously I'm in favor of reading by 3rd grade. Okay, and you got to put the emphasis on that and make it work. You guys are doing that. Mike, what's going on in Mineola? Thank you, Caroline. What's going on in Mineola, Long Island? One word, Long Island, New York. I'm from Philadelphia. I think I mentioned that. Go ahead.
Yes, so we have a bunch of things going on. We were recognized. We were recognized for our early childhood stuff. So we have full-day pre-K for every student. And we're in our 6th year of...
What year does pre-K start? Where's pre-K start? Would we say that?
4-year-olds?
Pre-K.
Full-day pre-K, 4-year-olds, yep.
Oh, okay. Wow.
We've been on a 6-year journey to eliminate report cards and look at assessment differently. So we have a badging system. So all of our learners from pre-K to grade 4 use badges as their primary means of assessment. And this year we leveled the badges to proficiency scales, followed a lot of Robert Marzano's work with that. So we've really we haven't given up on this idea that we shouldn't put a number on a kid in the early grades as they develop developmentally appropriate. And the badging system has really evolved over time, so we're really proud of that. And all of them.
Let me ask you a question about that, though. And by the way, I agree with you. Okay, but my question is you have to, in my opinion, you have to be careful that, and I'm sure you are, that the badging system isn't a participation trophy. We have to, you know what I mean? We have to make sure they actually are learning. Okay, and how's the badging system in light of my silly statement about participation trophies? Okay, how do you train the teachers to use the badging system?
So it's actually almost foolproof about the participation part because you either earn the badge or you don't. So it really takes out a lot of subjectivity. We've established criteria for each. The badge is basically the standard. So we've taken the standard, and then when the standard is too voluminous, we have micro badges, and we have proficiency scales, which are a hierarchy of skills, and you earn the badge or you don't. But the interesting part is we include the children in the conversation. So
that's great.
They know what they don't know and what they should be working on in order to get proficient in the standard. So it really is kid-focused and student-centered they can set goals on the work that they're doing. And with that,
do the teachers like this? Do the teachers like this?
Teachers love it.
They do.
Teachers love it.
I think they do. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, their angst comes from when a student doesn't earn the badge, and this is where we work brain science in. So we have a whole SEL component.
Good.
Teaching our little ones about their brains, about neurons, about how they can grow their synapses. So if they don't earn it, we issue neuron stickers. So it's a cute little method of reinforcing growth mindset and teaching them how their brains work. And you're not born smart. You work toward becoming smart.
I really love that. And, you just said something that always gets to me, and that is, we know a lot about it. We don't know a lot, but we know how the brain works. We're always learning more, okay? And we know how learning works, okay? And I have a BS in education, okay? But nobody ever taught me the science of education. It was just a degree to give me, okay? But there is a science to education, and it is neurological about learning, okay? And I think that's wonderful the way you just phrased that. I think that's just great. Okay, we got to get the synapses snapping, if I may. Okay, I think it's great to recognize that. It's good stuff. What else? I interrupted you. Go ahead. Do you want to continue?
Yeah. We have if you go to mineolagrows.com, all of these resources are free. There are videos. There's a whole curriculum. There's Pop Buzz Zap, which is a way we articulate to our little ones about how an idea is formed in your brain. And we also teach them about their amygdala, which is part of our MTSS series about your emotional control when your lizard brain takes over. So there's a lot of great stuff and resources that are all available for free.
Wow! Is this whole thing at early learning pre-K4? Is this why they designated you a Lighthouse district?
In part, yes. Yeah.
What's the other part? Brag.
The other part is the work we're doing at our high school. We launched a new program called Synergy this year, which eliminates all of the periods and puts all of the subjects in the cloud. So it's a combination of asynchronous and in-person learning where high school students create their own schedule every day and are accountable to themselves for how they complete their work.
How's it working out?
I love it. We literally bought a bank across the street from our high school. We retrofitted it, and we opened it in September. So, so far so good.
And are all the kids using it in high school? 9-12 or 10-12, whatever it is?
No, it's a choice. You can do the traditional structure of high school, or you can do the Synergy version of it.
And if you do the Synergy version, how are you finding teachers to handle that? How's that work?
Well, they're a unique group. We took volunteers because it's
no doubt.
Very unlike anything a high school teacher currently does.
Go ahead, continue. In what way?
Well, you're creating learning pathways. So the content, you're creating interesting pathways of the content asynchronously, and then you're teaching in seminar style a lot of the concepts about the content.
Wow. Right. It's fabulous. I love it. And I love the way you're thinking about neuroscience with all this. I think this is just great. So you and Caroline, you got great systems going. I want to swing back to Kim. Thank you, Mike and Caroline, for a second. Kim, you hear this stuff coming from, if I may, larger urban districts. I know Caroline's not a big one, but it's an urban district or immediate suburban district. Okay? You hear these kind of ideas bouncing around. Can you take these into rural schools and do something with them? Kim, over at Collegiate Edu-nation. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, sir. We all know the challenges of rural, and in many ways it's referred to as the new inner city, but one advantage of these innovations is the smaller the ship, the easier it is to turn. And so in many situations, it's easier to build models in a smaller situation that might be applicable to more suburban and urban things. But I value, hearing these great stories that are going on in all these AASA 2025 districts because, being around innovative people just fuels the fire for innovation.
Right, and they're around you guys too. And I cannot emphasize, we always talk about inner city, we always talk about suburban. We are very concerned about the impact of rural education. Okay, and I talk to school districts all over the country, literally in my own state here in Maine. Okay, we're very rural, all right, except for a couple of bigger cities. And, this is really, really important, and we can't afford to lose any more kids. Okay, what's your favorite program that you guys have seen coming out of rural education? Kim?
Well, what we're piloting here with Collegiate Edu-nation, and then we're also in West Virginia working on that same concept, and a similar conversation in North Dakota, is the PTEC concept. And
by the way, Caroline is close to West Virginia. She can go down and visit. Caroline, listen to this. You're close to West Virginia.
Yep, 40 minutes.
40 minutes. There you go, Kim. Okay.
Yeah, it's a small world. Seems like, and getting smaller.
There you go. Go ahead.
But the main thing we're doing right now, as a PTEC school, you can keep students in a support system an additional 2 years beyond high school. And what we did as an early college, our students earn the associate degree before they graduate high school. And so in 2019, I told the Commissioner of Education here in Texas, Mike Morath, that since these students have the associate degree, we're going to use that additional 2 years to bring bachelor and graduate degrees to these rural communities and take the cost of living out of it. That's the real culprit in the cost of higher ed. And the student debt crisis, I believe 45 million Americans have $1.7 trillion in student debt, and most did not complete that degree they were pursuing. So in bringing these bachelor degrees, we did a pilot here in Roscoe, a cohort of 7 very disadvantaged students that had the associate degree in the graduate high school. The regional university in our area is West Texas A&M. They're part of the A&M system. And so of those 7 that we brought that bachelor's degree opportunity to Roscoe, 2 of them graduated early. The other 5 graduated on time, average age 20, student debt 0, and a higher GPA than the average West Texas A&M graduate, which that taught us a lot about the importance of providing high school-type support systems for at-risk college students that have been historically underrepresented in higher ed. And we think it's a step in the right direction to breaking generational poverty through higher education.
Oh, it has to be. Okay, you have to show these kids where they can go. Okay, and it's been tough over the years, and they get localized. Okay, and they get myopic, and you have to expand to them and say, no, there's a whole world out there that offers you great occupations that hopefully you can even bring home and help the community here. I mean, it's really, really important. I'm going to go back and look. Thank you, Kim. That was really great. Caroline, now that you've been selected a Lighthouse district, okay, and they're going to publicize, all the wonderful things you're doing. We're helping with that. What do you see your role in talking to other districts? Have you been in touch with other districts about all the great stuff you're doing? Caroline.
Well, we're in the Western Pennsylvania region. We're very fortunate in that the superintendents are a pretty tight-knit group, and we are in communication with each other very frequently. So for the CHILL project, because we were the first district to fully implement, we have school districts, other districts that are looking to implement that come over here and visit, talk to us about what we're doing, look to see if the program's a fit for them. So we are the site that they visit. But also, kind of back to that discussion about rural education, Pittsburgh, we're talking about our urban center here, but if you drive 20, 30 minutes out of Pittsburgh, you get into
rural Pennsylvania. Oh,
right.
I know that.
You're in rural Pennsylvania. So, I think that as a Lighthouse district, we have a commitment to helping other districts. So one thing that we're doing is working with AHN to look at how do we get this type of programming out into the rural districts, knowing that, like all areas, it's difficult to get enough staff, so they're not able to just replicate what we have here. But we're working very closely with them to see how do we replicate it in a way that we can get access to the districts that are further out of Pittsburgh.
Right, and you're a smaller district, and Kim was saying about smaller districts, rural districts, okay? And I have to ask, and Mike, how big is your district?
We're not that big, 3,000.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say it was going to be bigger. Okay, so this is good. Then let me ask this. As smaller districts, we're not talking about 40,000 kids, okay? Is it – I always think of Jurassic Park. The brontosauruses didn't do as well as the raptors, okay? The bigger it isn't necessarily better, okay? And when you start to implement things, okay, and Kim said this, it's easier to turn the ship when you're smaller, okay? Can you see what you're doing? I'll throw this one to Mike. Can you see what you're doing working in bigger systems?
Yeah, absolutely. I like the Velociraptor reference there. That's a good one.
Thank you. Please feel free to use it. Yes.
The beauty, when you think about how districts can help one another, it can't be about finance because, I can't give my money to somebody else. But I certainly can share my resources.
That concludes this conversation. I thought I was going to make a fortune off that. No, you got to do it.
We don't think enough in public education about sharing our resources. And I think it's a disservice to we're all doing innovative things. Well, share it. And I think that's the whole basis of the 2025 is we're modeling successful practices that you may or may not work in your community, but at least you have access to the ideas and the resources and the ability to try it. And I think that's the world is getting smaller and smaller, as Kim and Caroline mentioned. So we need to start thinking differently about how we lead. And the sharing piece, I think, is at the point of it.
Exactly. The old saying, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Okay, so let me ask you this, Mike. Is there good communication between all the superintendents?
I think nationally, like I was just in Pittsburgh, and Caroline was at the conference I was at. I mean, their Remake Learning, there's 35 districts participating in 2025 through Remake Learning. So there's a esprit de corps of superintendents that know each other and speak, and it goes outside our states. I mean, I know most of the and national organizations like AASA really keep us connected.
Yeah, they have to. Kim, I was going to ask you that question, okay, and Mike just brought it up perfectly, okay. Are the rural districts, okay, and they're small, they need resources, they can share stuff, all right? Are they doing that down, I'll use Texas or West Virginia as the example. Are the superintendents sharing resources, et cetera, or sharing brain power? Kim.
It's becoming increasingly true as, the real problem that we've had, and the more rural they are, the more so this is true. K-12 working in a silo and really not aware of what higher ed is doing and not aware of workforce, high wage, high demand jobs. But as in Texas, the legislature has really made addressing that problem since, as I mentioned a while ago, it's such a big financial issue. In addition to the fact that our greatest resource is our human capital, and the biggest tragedy is wasted human capital. So now that we've identified that problem, the legislature has really put a lot of incentives in place to there was major legislation in Texas in 2019, House Bill 3, that incentivized districts to produce students that had college degrees and meaningful high-wage, high-demand workforce credentials in the form of rebates for graduates with that. And we always know in the Capitol that somewhere in the back room, there's a conversation going on about consolidation and those types of things. And I really believe that, as I mentioned, the more rural a school is, the more challenging that alignment is. But it's also going to literally starve folks out that are unable to figure out how to create those partnerships and address that credential crisis.
Yeah, they do have to do it. And I'm going to ask all three of you this. I'll start with Kim since I'm talking to him. All this is great. Do we have enough teachers to make it happen? How's this teacher shortage working out for you?
That is a crisis, and it don't, like many things in the pandemic, that only intensified that problem, as record numbers of educators are leaving the profession, just because of the difficulties that the pandemic presented. And so we're trying to do things, and one of the things that we're piloting with these Collegiate Edu-nation schools is the Grow Your Own Teacher program. And we realize that folks are more apt to stay in these rural areas if they're from these rural areas. And so as a result of that, and the PTEC, currently Roscoe, for example, has 3 20-year-old homegrown teachers that already have their degree and their teaching credentials and have chosen to stay there. I really think that may be a potential solution.
No, that's good to hear that those 3 are there. I got to tell you, there's a problem. Caroline, how's the teaching shortage? What's going on?
Well, obviously, it's impacting Pennsylvania. Our district specifically has not been impacted at this point. We've got a pretty veteran teaching staff, and they, despite all the challenges of the pandemic, have continued. However, I am keeping an eye on it because a number of them are getting close to retirement phase. So what we do is, when we have long-term subs, we really invest and grow them, having them participate in all of our professional development and so forth, so that when we do get an opening, we've got a pool that we know they're ready to step right in.
Are they permanent substitutes? Do they always, are they like on the payroll?
They are not on the payroll, so they're just temporary for the position. But what we do is, if we have somebody who comes in, let's say for maternity leave, when that maternity leave ends, and if they're doing a great job, we try to find another position for them. And it doesn't guarantee them full-time employment when a job comes open. We do have a very rigorous hiring process. But certainly if they've been here and they've been performing really well, that we certainly take that into consideration.
And I'm glad you're not having trouble with teacher retention and all that in Northgate. It's so bad. How about in Mineola, Michael?
It's getting worse, but it's not a true problem yet. We have a residency program with our local colleges for years that has helped tremendously in being like a training ground for us. The full year of residency, they're with us in their senior year of college.
Yeah, what I've always said, we got to make sure that kids enjoy. It sounds silly when I say, but it's basic marketing. You got to make sure that the customers enjoy, what if the 12 years they're there, so that they return. Nobody wants to work at a place, where they didn't enjoy themselves. All right, this is one of the challenges they have in urban education. If they didn't have engaged education, they're not going to come back there to work. So we got to do everything we can as professionals in the field to encourage people to become teachers. And I love, always grow your own, et cetera. We got to get more and more people into education. It's that simple. You 3 are doing absolutely excellent work. And you literally are going to be beacon. Think of yourself, Caroline, like the Statue of Liberty with the torch. You're a lighthouse now. And you're not going to look that good, Mike, looking like that. But
thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes. But really, seriously, and Kim, I got to tell you, it's the work that you folks are doing that has to be shared. All right, so that other school districts don't have to invent the wheel. You guys already have a good wheel rolling down the hill. So I want to thank you for being here today. This was wonderful. You're doing great work. Thank you, Caroline. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you for having us.
You're welcome, guys. Have a good January, and I hope we talk again soon. Take care. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. 3 great people, 3 great educators. I got to tell you, that's Kim Alexander, and you got to look this up. This is Collegiate Edu-nation, and it's all about, not education, Edu-nation. Collegiate Edu-nation, all about rural education, helping them in Roscoe. They're in Roscoe, Texas, but it's all West Texas oriented and throughout West Virginia and all across the state. Mineola's in Long Island, and of course, good old Northgate is in Pittsburgh, right outside of Pittsburgh, kind of in Pittsburgh. All right, we're going to archive the show over at ace-ed.org. Check out AASA over at aasa.org. They're a good organization. All right, so thank you very much for listening. I'm Larry Jacobs, everybody. Go over see what we do at ace-ed.org. Thanks.